Hi, this is Kitty Anderson again. I'm a board certified menopause coach. I have been studying menopause for about 5 years and coaching since 2017. It's 2022, and I am doing an update to your initial HRT appointment guide. So you can get this free guide by emailing me at jumpstartaip@gmail.com. And if you know me well, you know that I am a fanatic on brain health. I was able to move my brain health way high by doing HRT, nutrient dense diet, movement, exercise, all different types of things. I went from not being able to remember my phone number to taking university courses and getting the highest grade in the class. So it really made a huge change to my health, transformed myself, used all the levers that you have for health and healing. But it's really a passion of mine to help women recover their brain health. And I've updated a section in here on brain health in 2022, reconfirming the value of HRT, strongly reconfirming the value of nutrients and the problems associated with taking many medicines in our environment. So I'm going to go ahead and make this video all about the update to the brain health section in my guide. And I'm hoping that this really helps push you along towards recovery. I'm hoping that you can do this just from this video. You can pursue other elements that are adding to your brain health safely, non-toxic things that you can do that'll make a difference in brain chemistry. We have so much knowledge now. It is not getting out to you. I don't know why, but you really have to dig deep and knit together. I think the problem is, right? So you have to understand the foundational biology in order to critique the kind of information that's coming your way, in order to pull out the elements that actually will lead to health. So I want you to use me as an example that I was able to enhance my own health through my own studies. It was very iterative. I added things one at a time to see if they created a health bump. I had a little background on it. And so I have a bouquet of things that I take, and they're all non toxic. Most are body identical. There's a couple other elements that I take that are actually medications. There's a few medications in the world that are actually helpful, but not many. And I lean into food over supplements. I don't play into this idea that the supplement market is going to save me. Food is going to save me. So this is not going to make me rich. No, it's not going to make anybody rich, right? So this is why I'm a totally independent health coach. I'm not affiliated with anybody. No system, no doctor, no ways of doing things. This is just, I'm an example of a good, happy HRT user. I'm an example of a person who has recovered my brain health, right? So 14 years ago, I was really struggling. And now I'm just on top of the world. And I'm expecting to stay really functioning at a very high level into old age, very old age. Anyway, here's more of the details. So at the front of the guide, I want to remind you that there's two things that you can use with your doctor. One is called You're My Everything Doctor. So this is a single one-pager, two-sided that you can print, hand to your doctor. It has a summary of every hormone, transdermal estradiol, progesterone, and transdermal testosterone that you need and why you need them. So that OBGYN is now playing the role of basically 20 different types of doctors. So this is putting it in front of them to say, you're everything to me now. The tool right behind that is the 2022 update. It's a transcript from an International Menopause Society video. And during that transcript, at minute 52, Professor Langer says the very large trial called the WHI, which had 25,000 women in the hormone arm of that trial, has evidence that there is significant reduction in Alzheimer's and dementia risk with HRT use. So they detected a significant difference between the group of users with HRT and the users without HRT. So they knew there was tremendous advantage to being an HRT user. So that's supporting what I've said in my previous brain health video. So you're not going to find anything conflicting between this video and the other video on brain health that I did in 2021, but you will find more details, right? So we're getting into more details here, and we've got some updates on some of the things I said in that video. There is no change to the best products for HRT. So transdermal estradiol, usually micronized oral progesterone will work, and transdermal testosterone. All are important for your emotional and cognitive health. All of them work on the brain. So make sure you get all three of those products, typically in that form, will be helpful. I have a little bit of an update on micronized oral progesterone. If you're having a problem with that, you can check into my video on progesterone sensitivity. So what about using a psychiatrist as an ally? This can be a really important addition to your HRT. I don't know what it's going to take for your brain health to be recovered. One of the indicators that your brain isn't doing well is poor sleep. So we want to get you to a clear, clean, deep sleep. We want to get you that beautiful experience. And sometimes a psychiatric medicine will help you. I have been using one called Risperdal. In addition, I use it together with melatonin. So the melatonin ensures that I get a good sleep onset, but it also helps counteract the side effect from the Risperdal. But what Risperdal does for me at a very low dose, so 0.5 milligrams is what I'm taking, and it helps me get a clear, clean, deep sleep. I just noticed, and it turns out it's enhancing the other HRT that I'm using. It's making sure it stays in my body longer and it stays in my brain tissue longer. So it's actually an enhancer. It also boosts a level of hormone, my own hormone called prolactin. And this is an immune health hormone and a social and bonding hormone. So it's boosting another hormone in my body that I do need, and it's boosting it to a normal level, right? And I can feel the normalcy when I take this medicine. I am not using a benzodiazepine. I'm not using anything addictive. I am not using an antidepressant that causes fractures and causes weight gain and sets you up for way more problems than you ever wanted. So I'm not using those things, although I do get a mood boost from the Risperdal. I do get that enhancement. So having a psychiatrist as an ally is a wonderful experience. Sometimes they are very holistic and very progressive. That's the kind of psychiatrist you want to look for. If they have a if the psychiatrist has a background in nutritional psychiatry, they will be steering you towards a nutrient-dense diet, like the Autoimmune Protocol. It checks all the boxes when it comes to nutritional psychiatry. I've done a deep dive on this. I have a video on this you can look into, and I also have an ebook on nutritional psychiatry. So don't forget the nutrition piece of things. It's so key, and it pops up later. So the disease genes for bipolar, schizophrenia, and some other mental health issues can pop up and be activated by the low hormones of HRT and, the low hormones of hormone loss of menopause, right? So you've changed your brain by going through perimenopause. So your brain may need some mental health support. So I just want to make that really clear that HRT alone may not be enough. Now, I do have a paragraph in here from a study talking about the safety profile on Risperdal, which is in the category of an antipsychotic. And no, I was not psychotic, but I was not feeling well, and this really helped. So once again, I'm using it at a very low dose. I don't know what your dosing will be. Work with your prescriber, right? So try to make sure you have the least side effects and the most benefit from any medication that you do take. So, but I have an update on the safety profile that says it's absolutely safe to take this medicine with HRT. This is the kind of check you want to do when you take on a medication. I've spent some time updating the menopause nutrition basics, and I have identified the different types of diets and do a little bit of compare and contrast on those diets. And that might be helpful for you to understand the difference between different types of diets. So I'm not going to go into that here, but I will add a slide coming up on liver. And liver has 16 nutrients, almost all at the recommended daily dose or higher than the recommended daily dose. And it has 2 rare nutrients that are really hard to find in food, but critical to your health. And it also changes the intestinal lining. It changes the genetics on your intestinal lining so that you absorb more nutrients. The other thing that it does that's key is the vitamin A, which is an immune therapy on its own, really enhances the immune system. But the vitamin A changes how vitamin A is stored in your liver and made accessible to the rest of your body. So it really has a healing effect. And lastly, there are certain peptides, protein peptides in the liver that help the liver regenerate, right? Because it's the only organ in the body that does regrow. And so it has some unique healing qualities. So you'll see why liver 5 times a week, 4 ounces, is going to make such a difference, why it's so foundational in the autoimmune protocol and can be a really foundational part of your nutrition going forward. I'm going to put another slide here. At the beginning of the brain health section, I put all the things that I do that enhance my brain health so that you can see the package of things that is really working for me. So I do this to remind you what I'm doing. And then I go on to talk about detailed research. So right here, I'm going to give you a slide just so you can screenshot it if you want to. All the things I do and the things I don't do. It's important. Okay, so the Alzheimer's researchers are still front and center, and I follow quite a few of them to see what they're doing every single year. So this year, the update is we have a massive study with 400,000 women. This is really big. Bigger studies are more reliable. That found your risk for neurodegenerative disease is decreased by 58% if you use HRT. That's huge. That's a big, big study. And those diseases are Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis, ataxia, autoimmune ataxia, different types of brain diseases where you're seeing brain shrinkage. I mean, this is frightening. This is where you don't want to be. You don't want to be there. So HRT use. This is an observational study. So these women are dosing high enough to get rid of their symptoms. So they're on the higher dose products. I want you to know this, that a lot of the randomized control studies are on moderate doses. They're not getting the same kind of benefits that we at the high doses are getting. I also learned that there's a different kind of a trial called a preclinical study. And this is where they actually do the dose related studies. So they give a group of women different doses and then they compare their results. And when you see an increase in results with an increase in dose, then you really understand there is a connection between the HRT and good health. And so this is a certain kind of study. Now, these are kind of smaller studies, so they have trouble getting, valid results, and they might have mixed results because just the sample that they chose. But they're still seeing a dose-related enhancement to brain health. So this is critical. Keep this in mind. There were some special updates for the Center for Innovation on Brain Science from the University of Arizona. So this is a very progressive group. You can tell they're trying real hard to come up with a drug, and they're not necessarily going to come up with it, actually. I was able to watch a couple of their own videos that were updates on their research, and it looks like generic HRT is, going to be the winner. That's going to be the winner. But they were able to say that the observational studies are full of women who selected HRT. They are very often socioeconomically well off, not wealthy, but you have enough money to find the information, to spend the time to find the information. You'll also have peers that are doing HRT. So the socioeconomics of HRT is not equitable. It's not equitable that people with the most money get the information and then get the product. The product is $1 to $2 a day for the estradiol and less than that for the testosterone and way less than that for the progesterone. My gosh, I think it's $13 a month for me, cash. That's cash, and it's covered 100% under insurance once I hit my deductible. But what they say is that these women are moderately wealthy. I don't know what word is best for this. But the other hand is if you get your HRT, you stay employed. So you stay economically advantaged. The other issue is that if you do HRT, you're way more likely to do diet and exercise. It enhances your health so much that you're grateful in that you do diet and exercise. You realize, oh, I've got 80% of my health back. How do I get that extra 20%? I got to do massively change diet and exercise, right? It all has to be modified for menopause. So that was a huge insight into HRT. And it's sad and it's a justice issue. So once again, share these videos and make sure that our women, all women, have access to HRT and HRT information. This is really important. It's up to us, right? There's quite a bit of new information on the category of HRT drugs called synthetic progestins. These are not progesterone, but they are progesterone-like molecules, and your doctor will use them, and they do not enhance your brain health. In fact, they're going to block the progesterone from activating in the brain, and progesterone is necessary for 50% of your brain cells. There's some special brain cells in the cerebellum that require progesterone in order to develop correctly, right? So we need that. We need progesterone for the myelinization, so the coating on the brain cells, and that has to be regenerated all the time. So we still need the progesterone no matter what. And these progestins are actually damaging cognitive health. It's once again confirmed that the Mirena IUD is dangerous, MPA is dangerous. I've said this before, I'll say it again, just in case you're on these other products. If you have a progesterone sensitivity, please see my video on progesterone sensitivity. There are other ways to go about this other than getting on MPA or an IUD. Okay? There's other ways to do it. And lastly, well, maybe this is not lastly, I'm almost there. Your metabolic numbers are highly indicative of cognitive decline. So if you're headed towards pre-diabetes, you have insulin resistance, you are going to have cognitive issues, guaranteed, guaranteed. You want to reverse those metabolic numbers. If you have cholesterol issues, you're headed towards vascular damage, which means you're not getting the blood flow that you need. And there's dementias that are based on vascular damage. So you want to get those metabolic numbers from your primary care doctor every single year and monitor those for any indication that you are off track. And I've talked about extreme diets, and these extreme diets are often going to have signals inside those metabolic numbers that tell you and your doctor that these diets are not working. Even if you see weight loss, you know that these diets are not working for your cognitive health. They're not. They're not going to make it. You're missing nutrients. You have to get nutrients in. So let me talk a little bit. So the metabolic indicators would be a CIMT score. So that's a calcium level inside of your arteries and veins, and fasting blood glucose, HbA1c, insulin levels, fasting total cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL cholesterol levels, and high blood pressure is an indicator of cognitive issues. You're going to have trouble thinking, and you're a candidate for an early dementia. I need you to watch those metabolic numbers. This is now totally tied in. But they did confirm that HRT alone is able to move those metabolic numbers. So you are able to prevent or start to reverse those issues. And this is very much related to ethnicity, because we found that Hispanic women with poor metabolics were the most helped by HRT, and African American women with high blood pressure were the second most helped group by HRT. And the Caucasian and Asian women with HRT saw less change, less enhancement of the metabolic numbers than those other groups. Now, this can be stress related, this can be culturally related, this can be diet related, as I've said before. So you want to look for equity in the world. Make sure these women in the Hispanic community gets information on HRT. Make sure you have friends that are Hispanic. Make sure they get it, because this is really going to change them. And African American women need to know that this HRT is really going to change their cardiovascular issues, right? We still do coaching for stress management. Of course we do, because we got to get a handle on that. Our lives are full of change right now. We got to get a handle on that. But the HRT is going to do some of the heavy lifting, and that's true for all of us. I will reiterate, prediabetes is a problem. HRT will stop the conversion into diabetes, but it also gives you the energy to exercise. Diabetes is an absolute indicator of early dementia and cognitive decline. You can reverse diabetes with diet and exercise, and HRT. And I have clients that have done that. So I've experienced that. I've been able to view that people who have diabetes running through their entire family have been able to reverse their genetics for diabetes and change their HbA1c and change their fasting blood glucose, because diet and HRT are communication molecules within your body. And as long as those are supported, you have a chance for perfect health. You have a chance for this. And lastly, a couple things that will help your estradiol work in your brain. We know that low levels of magnesium in our bloodstream is going to make your estradiol not work as well. It's a protective factor that the magnesium and the estradiol together are protective on your brain cells. So that's really important. The other thing is high stress, right? High stress is creating cortisol in your body, and that is going to compete on your receptors for your HRT. So managing your stress. So there's quite a few things. I have non-toxic ways to manage stress. And so, of course, meditation and yoga and simplifying your life. There are just a million things that you can do on this, right? So just keep in mind, coaching does focus on stress and helping you create coping skills similar to counseling. Counseling, of course, helps you on stress, right? So keep in mind, stress and stress management is protective for your brain. The lack of nutrients will eliminate the high impact of HRT on your brain. So this is something that all of us are missing, that education on what a high nutrient food is. We are all missing that information, that education on what a high nutrient load diet looks like. And so I'm going to keep redirecting you to the Autoimmune Protocol and to liver as the foundation for that. And that is something that's really easy to focus on. There are other elements of that diet. You can see my videos on nutrition that I have here. I have a playlist on nutrition, and I'll put that in the YouTube description so that you can link out to that easily. But nutrients will always play a role in your HRT and how it works. Another key element is going to be zinc, and this is something you want to probably figure out. You get a very high load in things like liver and oysters. A lot of the seafoods will help you with zinc. And zinc is a component of the receptor that's sitting there waiting for your HRT. So that's a nutrient element that you really can't do without. You won't have a good response to HRT without enough zinc. The other thing that's quite key is proteins. So you need a certain amount of protein every day. Fish and seafood are highly digestible proteins. It's a special kind of protein because fish don't have to deal with gravity. It's easy to digest. And it makes available a lot of nutrients. So you want to make sure, especially for the testosterone, this will be a key in figuring out whether or not your testosterone is working, is making sure you have high enough proteins each and every single day, because the proteins actually bind with the testosterone and carry it around your body. So there's little pointers like that that are in my initial HRT appointment guide. And that's the brain update. I dig into this every few months, and it's always fascinating to me. I find more and more about what I'm doing and how it impacts my brain. So that I have a lot of explanations now for my particular brain experience, my health, and it's working. It's working. It's working. I hope it works for you too. Anyway, good to see you. Please share these videos, especially with our sisters who are of Hispanic origin, African American origin. They're not getting as much information, and they're really having harder menopauses, and then they're having a very hard time with dementia, cognition, brain health. We want to help our sisters. So that's it for today. Hope you're doing well.